Most client nightmares can be avoided if you ask the right questions before you start working together. And in this video, I'll share the 13 questions that I use to make sure I only work with people who I know is gonna have success with my service. But if you don't ask these questions, then the wrong client can cost you more than not having clients. And here's my promise to you. At the end of this video, you will know the exact questions that I use to make sure I only start working with people who I know is a good fit. Why do I do that? Well, it's a lot more fun for me, but not only is it also more fun for the people I work with, they also just have a much higher chance of being successful. My name is David Michelson. I've helped my first clients make a little over 11,000 bucks. Everything that I share in this video comes from something that I've done, my clients have done. It's from lived and tested experiences. If that's not your goal, if that's not what you're looking for, you can check out my free course. It'll help you get started for free and you can do all of it by yourself. As a new entrepreneur, the risk of the wrong client isn't just that they're draining your bank account. They can actually ruin your confidence and waste your time. And to make sure I avoid those situations, I've built my qualifying questions around Hormozzi's closer framework for selling, around heaven and hell questions, around time capacity questions, and around commitment questions. And I believe with these questions that I've found a formula which ensures that I don't work with the wrong people. At least I can say that changing these questions helped me go from starting out 5 new clients who all quit to having 7 new clients where none of them have quit. So first I'll give you the 13 questions, then I'll give you an example of a good and a bad question, then I'll demonstrate what makes up a good or a bad answer. The first question is, what made you reach out now instead of waiting? And the purpose of asking this question is to understand, where does the pain come from and what is it that they're trying to solve? The second question is, what's been the most frustrating thing about trying to solve this problem by yourself? Because you want to know what have they already tried to solve this issue so that you get some more context as to why is it that they haven't solved it by now. It could be external circumstances, but there also might be something in their approach that you want to be aware of before you start working with them. In the same category, have you tried to solve this before? What went well, what went wrong? Question 4 is, if this goes perfectly, how would your life look in 90 days? Now this could be however long your service is or your delivery, but what's the good thing that can come from this? And the last in this category is, what is something that would prevent you from having success with this if you were to start today? Because you want to know, is there something that they're already aware of might keep them from having success with this? Because then at that qualifying call, you'll be able to address that potentially. For the heaven and hell questions, you want to ask, what is the absolute ideal outcome? Not just that, but how would your life change if that came true? That's the heaven that they're running towards. Now, opposing that is the hell question. What happens if we don't move forward today? How is your life going to change? And this question is so important. And it's one that I see new entrepreneurs, my clients included, so easily avoid because they might not think that it's that important, but understanding how they view consequences of inaction is going to help you understand how determined are they to get this result and how is their life going to change if they don't get that result. And the reason that you want to get this information is because if they later give you objections during the sales call for why it might not be the right thing for them, then having answered what happens if you don't do something, that information is going to be so important and valuable context for you to say, but you remember when you earlier told me that actually if you don't do something today, what would happen was ABC? Like, would you mind me asking, is that really what you want to happen? But you want to use that information about the consequences of inaction so that you understand how painful and how important this change is for that person. And now the last questions relate to commitment and capacity, specifically also time capacity. And a question that I found is super helpful when you're working with any kind of service where you have as the deliverer limited capacity, and it is, why would I pick you in a line of 20 people? And the reason I found this question to be so helpful is that people actually end up selling themselves on why they're a good fit, which is really helpful to you in a sales setting. It doesn't work as well if you don't have limited capacity. Next, diving into their level of commitment, you want to ask, Are you the type of person who usually makes excuses for why something can't work? Or are you the type of person who finds a way to make something work? Not only is their answer really important for you to understand how they perceive themselves and how committed they are to finding a way, but when you can help them tie their identity to being the one who makes the change, again, this is just gonna make the sales setting so much easier. Next question completely ties into that, and it's almost the same, but it is, are you the type of person who, if they found the right solution, would be willing to make the right investment so that you could move forward today? And you just want to help them get into that identity mindset themselves. You can't convince them of anything, you can only help them arrive there by themselves. And if they also tell you, no, I don't want to invest in anything, or budget is really an issue for me, like this is also a place where you then get to dive in and see, is budget a huge issue? Can they actually pay for what you offer? And if they can't, and there is no way that they can, getting help from other people, finding other resources, then at least you get to know at this point, and you wouldn't have gotten all the way to the end of the call. And so you might already be able to address, maybe this thing is not the right fit for you, maybe we should go in this direction. Question 11 is similar to an earlier question, is there something that could prevent you from succeeding with this? But it is, are you working on anything else that might intervene or interfere with you getting started on this? And you want to know this not just from a activity perspective, but if they actually have something that could intervene, you want to be aware of it. Question 12 is super important, and it also relates to their level of decision making. If you're selling B2C to regular customers, then there might not be multiple decision makers. But if you're selling B2B services and you're qualifying a business to buy your service or your product, then there might be multiple decision makers. And so making sure you ask, if this ended up being a perfect fit for you and your business, is there anyone else that we would need to have on the call for us to make a decision to move forward? Or would you be able to move along on that by yourself? And the reason this is so powerful is that you might have someone who's on the call who gets the buy-in and who's really invested in trying to make it work. But then when it actually comes to the implementation later, they might meet resistance from other people in the company because they haven't bought into the idea of making whatever change. Because usually change isn't comfortable. And so people who aren't involved might feel left out, might feel threatened, and not having them on that call can potentially be an issue down the line. And then you just make and set up whatever invitation you need to and proceed from there. And lastly, question 13, which I found to be hugely beneficial for my business in terms of setting expectations and making sure not only that I find the right people, but also that they have a positive experience and don't want to quit, is asking, would you have a minimum of X hours a day to complete such and such work? And the reason I want to ask that is, if I know someone needs to work a certain number of hours a day to make my service work, if they can't realistically meet those hours in the way that their life is structured right now, even if they have the potential to be successful, their current life doesn't allow them to get to that point. And so chances are they won't make it. And that's going to lead to a bad experience for them. It's going to lead to a bad experience for me. They might quit. That's going to mean one less person with positive results. I don't want to get into that. All right, we covered all the 13 questions that you can ask to make sure you take on the right people who don't display red flags, so you don't have clients or customers quit or ghost you or complain all the time. But you heard the questions, and some of them are quite precise and some of them leave more room for details. What are some of the good ways and bad ways to actually ask these questions? Well, the reason you want to make sure you ask questions in a good way is that the quality of the question determines the quality of the answer. So if you ask super vague questions, chances are you'll get a vague answer, and you don't want that because that vague answer doesn't give you any information. So here are two bad questions that you don't want to ask. One is, do you want to be successful? Just super ambiguous. Don't really know what does successful mean. Do you want to be? Yes, and doesn't leave you with much direction for how to answer. Second bad question is, would you be interested in my program? This one is quite terrible, not only from a persuasion standpoint where you want to ask no-based questions, but also, would you be interested in my program? It's just such a weird, open-ended question. Yes, but there's so many buts involved, like yes, but I don't want to pay for it. Yes, but not right now. Yes, there's so many objections that can come from asking a question like this that you don't leave enough direction to actually have a constructive conversation with the lead or the prospect. So instead, what you want to do is you want to ask questions like this. What's been the most frustrating part of trying to solve this problem by yourself? In here, I'm looking for the most frustrating part for solving the problem, and not just solving the problem, but doing so by yourself. So it gives a lot more detail and nuance to specifically what is it that I'm looking for, so that the answer that I get will be much closer related to what I'm actually looking for. Second good question is, what happens if nothing changes in 90 days? And you could even go as far as saying, how would your family life look like if nothing changed in 90 days? Or what would your personal health look like if nothing changed in 90 days? And to even go back and use the previous bad questions, instead of do you want to be successful, you could ask, would you like to make $1,000 in 90 days? Would you like to get X number of customers in set time? These are questions with so much more detail that it's just a lot easier for the lead or that prospect to answer. And from those better questions, you will get better answers, which will just allow for a lot more productive conversation. So we covered the 13 questions, we've covered what are good, what are bad questions, and now I'll show you a few red flags for answers that you want to look out for. The first example of a bad answer is something vague with no urgency. An example of this could be, I don't know, I just thought it would be interesting. If you ask them at the beginning why they're on the call, why they were interested, and they say, I don't know, I just thought it might be interesting, and they don't really give you anything, then you want to dive into that. And Hormozy actually has a great follow-up question to this, which is, I totally understand. Do you often go around signing up for meetings just to look for more information? And I think it's genius because it gets the prospect to kind of take a step to the side and realize, no, I don't really do that all the time. I would imagine, at least. So there's probably an actual reason for why they're on the call, and help them uncover that. And if there actually isn't, then that is a red flag and you want to be aware. A second red flag answer is blaming other people for what has happened in the past and not taking any ownership. While the programs might not have been fantastic, if they've not learned anything or gotten anything from those programs, there's likely something that they're not seeing themselves. And if someone can't take any accountability, it's going to be difficult for them to have success with your thing. Likely. Of course, this is going to be a little different if you just do something for them, but you have to be aware that any kind of communication, any kind of expectations, these are the types of people who don't see themselves as part of the issue ever. And so you have to make up your mind, are these people I want to work with? The third type of bad answer is unrealistic outcomes. So to give you an example, for me, I guarantee that my clients make a minimum of $1,000 in 90 days. Now, if I was talking with someone and they say 1,000, that's nothing, I expect to make at least $1 million in 90 days. While I would certainly hope that that was something that could be possible, with my knowledge, if someone is starting completely from scratch, chances are they're not gonna make that much. And so if they have sky-high expectations and actually believe them themselves, being delusional and having faith is great. Not knowing what it takes to get there, not so great. If someone expects huge results from not that much effort, maybe they're not the right kind of person for what you do or who you want to work with. The fourth type of bad answers are no sense of consequence by inaction. If you ask them the hell questions, if you go over what happens if we don't move forward today, and their answer is just, I don't know and I don't care, nothing is going to change, then it's more likely than not that their pain for having this problem that you're talking about solved is not that high or not that intense. Because if there's no consequence from inaction, then do they actually have a problem? Is their life even going to change? And so you can just ask these questions if someone says that. Like, you say that nothing's really going to change, but if nothing's going to change negatively, it kind of also makes me think that nothing is maybe going to change positively. So what even got you interested in this in the first place? And so you can dive into that and kind of get a sense for why that might be. And so knowing these, what do you do when someone gives you those vague or bad answers? Showing those red flags. Well, here are the follow-up questions that you can ask. These are taken from Never Split the Difference, Negotiation, Masterpiece, Chris Voss and Tal Ratz. I've read it multiple times, can't recommend it enough. not just for negotiation and sales, but just for learning to understand other people. That's invaluable. I can't recommend it enough, not sponsored, it's just an incredible book. Here are 3 types of follow-ups that you can make in order to dive further into when someone gives you those bad answers or shows those red flags. The first one is mirroring. If you've never heard of mirroring, essentially it's actually just repeating either the last 3 words or the last part of the sentence back to someone. If the prospect says, I don't know, I just thought it could be interesting, you repeat back, could be interesting, and that way you haven't asked them to think about something not logically, you just showed a curiosity towards what they actually meant by interesting, and naturally they will just expand on what they meant on their own, which will give you maybe the missing context. The second tool is labeling, naming an emotion that they're showing. If someone is showing resistance, you can say, it sounds like you've been burned before and you don't want that to happen again. From here, if that's true, they will feel like you truly see them and they will feel understood, which will build rapport and they will like you more. But if it's wrong, they will likely correct you and maybe they'll give you the right reason for why they're showing resistance. And the last tool is asking calibrated questions. Can be how questions, can be what questions, but almost never why. Why makes people defensive. So use that very cautiously. So asking, for instance, why was it that you were interested in this program? Because now they're back to defending why they were interested. But what or how questions can be, how would you know that this was working for you if you gave it a shot? Getting that information, that context is likely going to reveal whether they fit into that category. So by now, we've been through the 13 questions. We've been through what are good and bad questions. We've been through the good and the bad answers. We've been through even how to follow up if someone gives you bad answers. And why do I present all of this? Why even make this video? Well, as I said initially, when I started, I didn't ask those questions. And it led to me starting my second round of clients who all quit. And it was my fault because I didn't ask the right questions. Specifically, I didn't ask enough about their commitments and their time capacity. I think they had the right goals in mind and they didn't have expectations that were unrealistic, but they had too many other things going on that prevented them from actually committing to the expectations in terms of time and effort that I'd set. And so by changing my approach, by changing the questions, by adding in more questions, I now started to understand who would I be able to work with, and from that only select ones that actually seem like they would have a good shot. And not just have a good shot, but also be good people to work with. And so asking these questions not just protects you, but it protects them as well, making sure that it becomes much more of a win-win situation. If you want help to implement all of this and so much more, check out the free starter course and community in the description. You can get started in 30 seconds, pick out your idea, get help all the way until you get your first customers, completely free. All it takes is your own effort. And don't forget to subscribe so you can follow along on this journey while I build this company, while we help change more lives by helping people start businesses so that you can get a lot more real life, no fluff entrepreneurship content. As always, thank you for voting with your time and your attention. I highly appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Stay disciplined.